There seems to be an awful lot of sad stories in the news today, and there are thousands missing. Does anybody care? New Band Channel, where we talk about those faces. Talking News with Gabby. Cassie Barnes has still not been found, and it's been 2 years since her case first hit the spotlight. Reggae, Chattanooga and Middle Valley both behind bars. Sarah Galloway was found. She wasn't found alive. What happened to Sarah Galloway?
It's too heartbreaking to share.
Children are still missing. Children like Dorsey, you're in shame. You just got away with it. Welcome to Talking News, Hello everyone. My name is Debbie. We use big stories to push little faces.
Hello guys, welcome to Chasing a Murderer Talking News. Please take time to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell if you like notifications whenever we have new uploads, guys. So we're continuing the Gabby story on request, and I'm really having to bust my butt trying to get the information in just a couple of days. So we kind of left off with August 12th. The couple was actually having an argument this day. They get pulled over by the police and they are separated for the night. They're supposed to be separated for the night. But we know that doesn't last long and that they get together the next day. They are quick to forgive one another and they're back on the road. So they're just trying to pick up the pieces as they go, living a life as if nothing ever happened. There's not a whole lot going on from August 13th until August 19th when Gabby actually has a post on Instagram that shows a view of a park from her lying inside her van. So not really much going on there. And by August 24th, the couple is seen, well, this is the last time that she's really seen, guys, checking out of a hotel with her boyfriend in Salt Lake City, Utah. The couple has plans to actually go to Teton National Park, which is in Wyoming. And so August 24th through the 25th, kind of going to do both, guys. Gabby's mother says that this is the last time that she's able to FaceTime with her daughter, Gabby. And during that conversation, she says nothing seems off because her daughter tells them that she's having a great time. Tells her mom that they're headed to Wyoming and they're heading to Teton. So this one's a little contradictory. I'm not certain on this one. But supposedly the 24th or the 25th of August, this is the last post Gabby will make. So take a note as we move forward here, guys. There's a possibility that Gabby's missing, so everything that we see from here is going to be crucial. I believe that she goes missing either the 25th late or early in the morning of the 26th, or even possibly late 26th. So according to a witness, they say they have a shop in Victor and says that they seen Gabby and Brian come into their store and they were there for about 20 minutes. The name of the store is Rustic Row. She says the couple tells them that they were traveling from Florida and that they had just been to Teton Park and they were interested in going to Yellowstone. The store owner says, I told him they could go to the west entrance. The witness says they seemed very happy when they left. Gabby hollered back from the door that they were engaged. And then I said, congratulations. The woman ends up reporting this to the FBI when they start seeing her face as a missing person. Okay, so another witness account. They see Gabby's van around 5 p.m. in Teton Park, Wyoming. So a woman and her husband, they're also kind of blogging their trip. They have their camera rolling, but they don't realize it at the time that this white van from Florida is going to be crucial, at least to the FBI and police. She says, "We drove through the Tetons, and the only stop we made was at Jenny Lake." She looks back through her video later and she says, "Without a doubt, on my husband's life, I knew for a fact that was their van," says Shannon Baker. Baker says this is around 5 p.m. on August 25th when she and her husband allegedly spotted Gabby's van in the Jenny Lake parking area. So also on August 25th, and guys, I may repeat a few things. We know that Gabby's family spoke to her, most likely for the last time, over the phone or FaceTime this day. And she said that she was in Grand Teton National Park. So we know this. And an Instagram post shows her visiting Monarch Wall in Odin, Utah. It's this picture with her holding a pumpkin. And here's the problem. The parents of Gabby believe that the caption that she left this day is not like her. And it says, "Happy Halloween." So when Gabby talks to her family, she tells them, say, "I'm in Wyoming, Grand Teton, at the national park there. And she's having a grand time and she's heading to Yellowstone." So if it was not Gabby posting, well, Brian's not being as slick as he thinks he is. This picture shows Gabby in front of a butterfly mural with a small knitted pumpkin she holds in her hands. So, and right before these pictures, we know she wasn't really putting up enthusiastic photos. On August 19th, we know she had posted on Instagram a photo of her taking a picture from inside of her van, looking outside the open door of that van. So later, Gabby's family says a 2-word caption is very odd for Gabby. Usually it's a deep, meaningful caption, or otherwise she'll detail her travels. It says, quote, "This doesn't really seem like she posted it, in my opinion," end quote. So another important note is, unlike her usual posts, these pictures did not have a location tag. And so a lot of people say because of these strange posts, there's a lot to speculate on. But fact is important. And one of those facts is that Gabby's mother, Nicole Schmidt, said she was in constant contact with her daughter throughout the trip, which started early in July. And now it was becoming impossible to get in touch with her angel. Nicole believes at this time, nothing's wrong really, and that everything seems okay. But later on, she said she didn't realize, but it seems that there is trouble brewing since August 12th. Gabby's mother admits, she seemed okay to her at the time. Other than that, she said she didn't know where the relationship was really going with Gabby's boyfriend. All she knows at this time is they're supposed to be heading to Yellowstone. According to family members, it really wasn't too unusual that they couldn't get a hold of her at first, because they said, quote, she would go off the grid doing her van life stuff, exploring these different areas. So it wasn't uncommon for her to go off for a few days at a time, but she'd always make her way back someplace, somewhere she could get on Wi-Fi connection, upload her to her Instagram, and make phone calls by FaceTime. So we at least know that the true communication between Gabby and her family, well, it's not going to do so well after the 25th of August. So around this time as well, officials are investigating later on a tip where this couple visited a bar in the Ashton area. So according to East Idaho News, there's 2 people who said that they saw the couple and actually spoke with them at the bar late August. Okay, so I'm not certain if I got this date right, but I'm going to share it so it's close to it. So according to Gabby's parents, they get a text from Gabby. It says that she doesn't have service, which is about 800 miles away from where they were heading. The couple was wanting to head to Yellowstone around this time. And about this time, the parents are kind of like raising questions. You know, what's going on here? This isn't like her. This is strange. Because she knows where to go to find Wi-Fi. She knows how to get in contact with people in the middle of nowhere. Now, interestingly, this same day, there's a couple that runs into Brian, and they find out, well, according to him, he tells them that he's been sleeping in a tarp and hiking up and down Snake River with his fiancée, Gabby. And during this time, Gabby is not with Brian. So here he is, a few days past the 25th, and he's hitchhiking and getting a ride with a lady by the name of Miranda Baker. And Miranda said that she dropped him off at Jackson or Jackson Hole. So let me play this clip.
Over. So we pulled over at the Jackson Dam, which I don't know if you know like Teton Park, but it's not very far from Coulter Bay. And if this does like reach people, I can post pictures of, you know, exactly where we were. We picked him up and the whole route or whatever, and like screenshots of like the timestamps. We dropped him off at 6:09 p.m. on August 29th. He kind of like hurried out of the car. And then he's like, okay, I'm just going to go find someone else to, you know, hitchhike. And we're like, okay. It was a weird situation. So when we picked him up, he was wearing a backpack. He had a long sleeve pants, hiking boots, and he had like scruff. But he didn't look dirty. For someone who was camping for multiple days, like he didn't look dirty. He didn't smell dirty. So that part was kind of weird. And I'm just really hoping that they find her, and this helps someone like remember seeing him, or you know, something like that. Who would know south and north? We were going south out of the park when he said he was camping north. He had told us that him and Gabby were not camping on a regulated campsite through the national park, that they were camping basically out in the middle of nowhere along Snake River. This is key information. He said that he had hiked for days along Snake River, but when like looking at his backpack, it wasn't full, and he said all he had was a tarp to sleep on, which you think if you're going camping for days on end, you'd want food and a tent, and he had none of that. And like I said, he looked clean and didn't smell bad. This is a view of the whole journey with Brian. So that's the top at the park at Coulter Bay, and then we drove him to this dam right here. Then at the dam, we dropped him off at this little turnout, and he said he was going to walk across the street to the parking lot, which was full of people, to continue hitchhiking and look for a ride, because he freaked out when I said Jackson Hole. He said we needed to pull over, even though Jackson and Jackson Hole are the same thing. It's the same town itself. This is the text I sent to my mom at 6:09, right when he got out of the car, saying I was okay because she was freaking out. This is at the park, or at the pickup location, and we were taking a shower. We then walked across, and our car was parked on the left side of the picture, and he talked to us like right in the middle. And he was talking to my boyfriend the entire time, but like I was the one actually talking, and he was like not frantic, and he was very nice, very polite to us.
So it's around 6 p.m. on August 29th. No Gabby. And he claims that he has been camping in a tarp, which makes no sense to me since they have a tent and they have a van. So what's up with the tarp there? It's going to be interesting to see where that tarp comes into play with this case. So interestingly, Nicole, Gabby's mother of Long Island, New York, said that Gabby is texting her from around August 27th. And then also on August 30th, so we're moving into August 30th right now. But she says she isn't sure her daughter was on the other end of that exchange. So she hasn't talked to her personally, and she's not seeing any photos. So Nicole said, quote, "It was just a text. I did not verbally speak to her," And she said, I can't say much, but she's no longer with the van. I don't want to say anything more than that, but for people looking for her, I want them to look for her now. Don't look at the van anymore. So this is something she'll say later, but I want to go ahead and include that now, because 10 days from here, or 10 days from now, she's going to report her daughter missing. Now let's talk about the fact that Brian offered this girl, when he was hitchhiking, good Lord, $200. Then she said he kind of acted funny and it was like, I need to get out now. Well, he's probably trying to avoid paying her. I don't know. I would love to hear if she ever got $1 from him, what went on with that. So Brian says they are not camping in a regulated campsite. They're basically camping way off the grid. And what would be the reason he would have to sleep in a tarp if he was sleeping in a tarp? So what's going on with that tarp again? I'm very interested. So why isn't he sleeping in the van if Gabby isn't there? I mean, he's saying Gabby's there, but we know most likely she isn't. So it's going to be interesting what police find in that van. And her concerns are also the fact that Brian's backpack is not full. So I keep jumping back to that, guys, and I might a few times as we go through this. So I'm going to try to finish this up pretty quickly. Might not put in all my details this round. So what is it, the 27th and 28th that he is sleeping in a tarp? Okay, so here's what's interesting. On September 1st, Brian has been traveling at least a day. He left Teton Park and is headed back to Florida. He arrives on September 1st. He pulls into his parents' home and he is alone. Gabby is not with him. And no one really realizes this except for Brian and Brian's family. And what's going on with that, we don't know. But it's very interesting. Not only that, guess who's been trying to reach Gabby? Well, her family, her mother, her father. No one can reach Gabby. At this point, the parents are starting to become frustrated. They really don't know what's going on or where Brian is. It's at this point, Gabby's not reported missing. So here's a little interesting fact for you guys. So, according to the married blog of this couple, it says something's completely different from what's been going on in reality with them. The couple have been dating since March of 2019, and they got engaged in July of 2020. So they've been engaged for a year. According to Instagram post of Brian and Gabby, they wrote, Brian asked me to marry him and I said yes. Bizarre design, you make me feel unreal and every day is such a dream with you. And Brian's post, even more interesting, he says, quote, my biggest fear is that one day I'll wake up and it will all have been a dream, because that is what every second has felt like since the moment we found each other, till death do us part, or until I wake up. I'm so happy. The answer was yes. Love you, honey, end quote. So, knowing the outcome of this case, that's a very strange thing that he posted there. He admits, everything feels like a dream to him. So to him, this relationship doesn't seem real. Maybe he feels like he doesn't deserve somebody like Gabby, which you guys will probably say he's right. And we hear about jealousy. There's a possibility that Brian's quite jealous through friends of Gabby's. There you go. I mean, everything is equaling up that most likely what ended up causing the arguments. Maybe it was jealousy. Definitely, I believe jealousy is going to be part of this. He's controlling and he wants every bit of control, all attention on him, everything Gabby has to be about Brian. And this is very selfish. I don't think Brian realizes that, but it is. What he demanded of her was selfish. From here, I'm going to have to flip a little bit back and forth on what is happening. So at the beginning, when Brian first arrives home, the parents are trying to get a hold of him. And at first, he says something and then it just totally stops. Now, going forward a little bit to September 11th, this is the day that they will report Gabby missing. They are concerned. It's been 10 to 11 days since he's been back in Florida, but no word, no photos, nothing like that is normal for them to see from Gabby. They know they have to wait a few days in between, and here we are, we're hitting 10, 11 days and nothing. So we're going to talk about, hopefully if I don't forget, about an email that Nicole gets from Gabby's phone talking about her grandfather Stan. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So once the parents call the police and say, they're worried about their daughter, they want to check on her, they think that she's missing, they actually tried to go and talk to Brian, and guess what? Brian doesn't say a word. He doesn't tell the police anything. He refuses to speak with them. In fact, the world they really haven't caught on to this case yet, but they're about to. And once they do, and they start hearing this information, the boyfriend's refusing to give any information about his girlfriend, the one he last saw. So, what's going on with that? Why would you do something like that? Why would you not want to help the person that you love? The one that you have to wake up from a dream because you're so shocked. She has allowed you to be her boyfriend. Yes. Why would you not try to help her? So immediately the world is saying, hey, that doesn't sound right. There's something wrong with that. And this sounds pretty sketchy. Something ain't right here. But he's not alone. His family, his parents, they're silent, dead silent. They won't say a word. What the heck is going on with that? I thought they said they cared about Gabby. At this point, they're just hiding the truth. Brian's silence says more than anything could ever say. It says he's guilty because though they've had spats and been separated for a small period of time, he, for the first time in his life and their relationship, cannot get in contact with Gabby if he wanted to, and he knows this. He lawyers up. He lets his lawyer start talking for him. Nobody wants statements. They want answers. So just to be sure that you know, on September 11th, Gabby's family reports her missing to the Suffolk County Police Department in New York, and that's around 6:55 p.m. their time. The parents of Brian, Christopher, and Roberta Laundrie have refused to speak to police, and even blowing them off after Brian returned from his cross-country trip. So who are these people? So Christopher, his father, is 62. Roberta Laundrie, 55, bought their 1,400 square foot home in Northport for $120,000 in August of 2015. Just recently tried to sell it for over $200,000. Didn't do so well. So on September 12th, this is a day after Gabby's reported missing, the parents of Gabby are trying to piece together everything they can find online through her social media posts, YouTube, this is Instagram. They're just trying to find answers for themselves, trying to locate their daughter, and they're becoming quite suspicious of Brian and the entire family. So the North Point Police Department say, we don't know what Brian knows. That's the bottom line. We are hopeful to talk to him. He needs to talk to us. We need to know exactly where he was, where she was, their last locations, and the fact he was back here in 10 days. At this point, Gabby's story is starting to become more public, and it's kind of circulating through TikTok at some point. And police also discover a few clues of where Gabby was last seen. Investigators find out August 24, 2021, Gabby was last at Fairfield Inn and Suites, which is in Salt Lake City. Surveillance footage at the hotel actually captured her and Brian walking out of the hotel. So remember, the last that Gabby's parents had actually spoken with their daughter, they were believed to have been inside Grand Teton National Park, which is in Wyoming. They were heading to Yellowstone, and somehow they realized Gabby did not make it to Yellowstone. Her mom says that, and her father, that they weren't getting responses. I believe that she was in a place with no service. It was like day 8 and 9 that I really became concerned, says Nicole. Around September 14th, the parents are pushing for the public to notice that their daughter's missing, and they are questioned about Brian not responding to them, and they say, quote, "We have not talked to him. We would love to talk to him. He is under no obligation to talk to us, and he has not. And we don't even know yet if a crime happened." So at this point, they're still hoping that this is a case where they maybe got in an argument and they kind of separated and she might have got lost or something. So by September 15th, it's a Wednesday, Brian was officially named a person of interest. But police did try to keep that on a down low at the time. They wanted to talk to Brian. They didn't want to scare him away. They didn't want him to think that he was going to be arrested, which he probably wasn't at this time. Brian continues to make himself unavailable for any type of interview. He didn't, not by phone, not by email. Just the only way you can contact him is through his attorney. And so his attorney actually issued a statement. Many people are wondering why Mr. Laundrie would not make a statement or speak with law enforcement in the face of let's call her Gabby, absence. In my experience, intimate partners are often the first person law enforcement focuses their attention on in these cases like this. And the warning that any statement made will be used against you is true, regardless of whether my client had anything to do with Gabby's disappearance. As such, on the advice of counsel, Mr. Laundrie is not speaking on the matter. I have been informed that the North Point, Florida police have named Brian as a person of interest in this matter. This formality has not really changed the circumstances of Mr. Laundrie being the focus and attention of law enforcement, and Mr. Laundrie will continue to remain silent on the advice of counsel, end quote. What I have noticed is many defense attorneys will sit with them while they speak. His attorney did not do that, and you have to wonder why. What does he know? What has Brian told him? So he knows if he speaks, he's going to incriminate himself most likely. During this period of time, there is a surge on this story, especially on TikTok and social media, and the world is taking notice on this case. On September 16th, 2021, Brian is said to be in contact with his parents at their home and has a backpack on that day. He says he is headed to the environmental park. That's according to the parents later, which we're about to go over. Around this same time, the video of where Gabby and Brian were pulled over for domestic abuse, well, that's surfacing and the public's starting to pass that around. So here it kind of insinuates that the couple's in distress. And Gabby's family still continues to try to get contact with their daughter, but with no luck, sadly. Also, around September 17th of 2021, the public is shouting out to the family to speak along with the parents of Gabby and law enforcement. There's only one family member in this family that will actually start speaking. It's the sister of Brian, Cassie Laundrie. She speaks on Good Morning America, addressing the fact that the family's not speaking. She says, quote, "Obviously, me and my family want Gabby to be found and found safe. She's like a sister, and my children love her. And all I want is for her to come home safe and sound. And this just to be one big misunderstanding," end quote. According to Cassie, she had not talked to her brother Brian, so she doesn't know anything either. Also, around this time, the North Point police say that Brian is on possibly Tuesday the 14th of September, wearing a backpack, went to Carlton Reserve. So a lot of people are kind of wondering what really happened with that. Supposedly, Brian had actually driven the Mustang to the reserve, where somehow police found it. They left him little notes on the windshield. The notes were saying the car needed to be removed, but the parents decided not to move the car because they were wanting to leave it there in case Brian needed it. Long story short, turned out that the parents ended up picking up the Mustang without Brian. So they have not seen Brian. It's at that point that the parents become concerned about Brian, and they call the police to their home and want to talk to them about their missing son. However, this gets out to the media, and the media doesn't know what it's about. The public doesn't either. And so they're suspecting there's going to be an arrest, or they're going to talk to Brian. Maybe he's going to confess, but that was not it. At that point, police are given the permission to pretty much get a chance to talk to Brian. So now they're going to search for him in this reserve, and they do so for 2 days. This is a huge property, and they use drones, cadaver dogs. They have at least 50 officers out there. They have four-wheelers. Everything you can think of was available as a resource. The public starts to suspect that this is just a setup by the parents to help Brian get away. But the police seem to believe the parents for some reason. We don't know what was said in that house. We do know that they walked out with some bags with something in it. A lot of people thought were evidence bags, but turns out police say that it was just bits of clothes that belonged to Brian to help the cadaver dogs search. I'm sure those also helped them to be able to search back in Wyoming, because during this time they're also searching for Gabby. Gabby's parents are in Wyoming. They're hoping to find Gabby. They think maybe there's a chance she's hurt. And they're using what witnesses have made available to them. At one point, the FBI is closing in on Gabby. They know it. They have that feeling, and of course the parents are kind of pushed aside. They don't want them to be involved or see anything should they find something, horrible. So September 19th, nearly the entire nation is shocked as they hear there's a big conference setting up to talk about the Gabby case. And I could tell by the magnitude of the cameras and everything, and the way that they were approaching it, most likely they believe that they found Gabby. So he takes the podium and announces that they found remains in the same area that they last knew Gabby to be. And so, and that they had found remains that had characteristics to identify as the missing Gabby. At that point, I knew this is the way that it was going to go, but my heart was shattered. The rest of that day, I was just too grouchy to even work on this. I was so upset about it. They had pitched up tents, just like you had seen in the Chad Daybell case when they discovered the kids on his property. But there was something special that happened that day. After Gabby remains, which it's not 100% yet, were found and coroner had picked them up, there was a rainbow that shined over the area in which she was found. This is not what we were all hoping for, especially her family and friends. But many people never find answers at all, and they would be able to bring their Gabby home. So a lot of people went quiet after this, and then the search was on. The person of interest is nearly a suspect, and are his parents accomplices to helping him escape? That's what everybody's wondering. So that's just speculation there. But the next day, there was a search warrant for Brian's parents' home, and they brought out bags of stuff. So guys, it's getting somewhere, and actually it's moving faster than I've seen a case move in a very long time. So I feel like justice will prevail here as long as they can locate Brian. So make sure you share his face, share this story. So I did this story on request. It was a lot of work. I've worked 4 days from morning until late evening on this. And I want to ask you guys, if you do like these videos, consider liking them and subscribing to them for sure to help me out. I want to mention I do have a Patreon that you can donate there, because you really, I think I made $20 in 2 months on here. So it's a lot of work. It also helped me keep up buying my mics and that kind of thing. This story was able to bring more spotlight to these faces. So pay attention to these. These guys are still missing. And finally, the most important thing I want to do right now is send my condolences out to the family and friends and everyone following this case. Guys, hang in there. I'm so sorry for the loss of your daughter, friend, and now the angel of the world. All I can do is send my blessings and hope that it will ease your pain as you walk this process. It was a horrifying ending to know that most likely someone that loved her, that she trusted the most, took everything from her, because Gabby loved living. She loved the little things, and I know I can feel what she's like, because I too just love just all the little things, and she's been ripped away from all that. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna take a break now, because this one was very, very emotional, and I'll see you guys soon.